Okay. Well, my guest today, he's a young man who's making his way really strongly in the Sydney riding ranks. He had such a bad accident when he was younger. He was told he'd never ride again. He came through that, won a Sydney apprenticeship. He's won back-to-back Kosciuszkos. He's won a Group 1 on Maria Mia. And with me is Tyler Schiller. Welcome, Tyler.
Hey Glenn, how are you?
Hey, mate. Good, thanks. How's things?
Very well.
Yeah.
Good day. Nice
Yep.
day outside.
Yeah, it's nice and warm.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
lovely.
got your Hawaii 5-0 t-shirt on.
Yeah. Feels good.
Yeah. So tell us a bit about yourself. You're from the country originally, aren't you? From what, Western New South Wales?
Yeah, southwest, Young, southwest slopes. Not far from Wagga and Canberra, but not much there other than cherries.
Well, you've got a bit of the country twang about you. You certainly, a few of us that think you've got a little bit of the Bowman about you. Hopefully, if you can follow in his footsteps, that'll be okay.
Yeah, that'd be a good
So
goldie.
your family's predominantly in the trots, is that right?
Yeah, Dad and Pop are both been in the trots. Pop for 30 years and Dad for, well, whenever he was younger. He's never had his licence till recently, but yeah, always been in the standardbreds.
So how did you end up transferring from trots to horses, to the flats?
More so, I was always small through school. I wanted to be a jockey, and I thought if I could learn to ride, it'd be a good start. And I couldn't really get a hold of it from young age. I was more in the trots and did 20 trials and almost was a trotting driver, and then did a school-based traineeship with Chris Hayward at Wagga, just doing stable hand work. I sat on like a sack of potatoes and couldn't sit to a trot or a canter at all. So I went to a stud farm in Young for 3 months and bound a stud. Got a little bit more hands-on with horses there and in the thoroughbreds. But more so, Michael Donoghue steered me into Phil Sweeney early in my career, and
And he was your boss, wasn't he, Phil Sweeney?
yeah, he was my first boss to be apprentice to, and he really got me going really quickly. I couldn't ride going there, and he got me on in the first week, and by the time 2 months was up, I was riding 10 a morning track work.
So when you got to Sweeney's, you couldn't really ride at all?
No, it was terrible. As I said, I couldn't rise to a trot, couldn't sit in a canter. It was an old pony called Spinner that really got me going. He was a gem to ride.
And when was that? It was about 4 years ago, was it? 5 years ago?
Yeah, I went there when I was 17 and a half, maybe. Had a little setback with a car accident just before I started trials, so didn't really start my apprenticeship until I was 18, 19.
And then you mentioned you had a little setback in a car.
Yeah.
That's a little bit understated, isn't it? Tell us what you got a few metal rods and bars in your back?
Yeah, I've got 2 rods, 6 screws, and a cage where the burst fracture happened in my L3. I got fusion from L2 to L4, and it took a long while to get over it. It took 9 months. I got told I'd never ride, and I know the doctors have to give you the worst case scenario, but it was pretty disheartening at the time.
So what did you do from there when you were told you would never ride, and you'd only just started your apprenticeship? So you'd learned to ride, and then had this terrible car crash. That put you out for what, 9-10 months?
Yeah.
So
about
what
10
did you
months.
do? What was your mindset like? Did you have people like pushing you to say, "Don't worry about it, you'll be okay," or was it all inner driven?
I had a good support base for sure. I had mum and dad at home. I was there for 3 months on the couch on my back and with a brace on. I was very lucky that mum was always a go-getter for me. She pushed me into Michael Donoghue early. She always sold me to everyone that was going around, and yeah, very happy that she was there, and dad to get me back on track. And then the physio obviously was a very good job getting me strong enough to come back.
So then you decided you're going to start riding again. Did you go back to Sweeney's?
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went straight back there at probably 12 months after the back break, and yeah, got straight back on, and it was like riding never stopped. I felt like it was very natural from that point. There was a little bit of soreness early, but it was only getting stronger.
Oh, that's great. And doesn't worry you at all?
No, it's
No.
terrific. I feel like I'm...
So
Fine
tell
with
us
me.
now from Sweeney's, obviously out in the country, how did you progress to come to the city? Was there somewhere? So you went to Mark Newnham, who's been renowned as having. He's been a loss for Sydney racing going to Hong Kong because he's brought so many champion apprentices through, and you're the latest of his that's won the premiership. Is that right?
Yeah, I was the last one. Robbie was the first two, and then Tom in the middle, and me on the end. And yeah, he was a great boss, a great mentor. And the only reason I ended up with him was actually a friend of mine called Henny Eade, who was apprentice down at Wagga to Tim Donnelly, and I was more inclined to go to Chris Waller, Richard and Will Friedman at the time. Yeah, there was a lot more offers, and I was just lucky that Henny got in the way and got onto Tim, and he got onto Mark because they were great friends. And yeah, it sort of put me in the right direction, I guess. It's been a great learning curve, and to get to the right boss, it really put me in the right direction.
It certainly does make a big difference if you get with a boss that gives the apprentices a go, because Mark Newman was one of those. Even if he knew you were going to make mistakes because you're an apprentice, and that's the nature of being an apprentice. And even if you got beat on one, you'd still be on it this next start. Whereas, there's a lot of other trainers that you get beat on them once, and not just that you don't ride them again. They seem to put a pen through your name and forget about you for a little while.
Yeah, for sure. It was usually a 6-month spinning wheel.
Yeah.
But yeah, Mark was great. He put you on good chances, told you what you did wrong if you did anything wrong, and also told you what you did right just to keep improving in that direction. But he gave me a lot of confidence going out there because he never put pressure on you. He never gave you too many instructions, and he was always great at doing his form and speed maps as well.
Talking about that, form and speed maps, and I mean nowadays, there's a lot of data out there for riders and managers and race analysts to ram down your throat. You're one of these guys that just keeps it basic, aren't you?
For sure. I don't think I do too much at all. I look at the Racing New South Wales speed maps just to see where the stewards would have you in perspective, and then obviously what the trainer says can obviously change the result as well. I think as on the weekend I rode one of Hawks' horses, and Zayrek, he was speed mapped to be outside the lead, but I was told not to go forward, go back and let him relax, and yeah, he got the job done. So
got the job done, yeah.
There's a lot of different things that go into it, the instructions from the trainer, speed maps, and then obviously the jockeys around you as well. Mark always had us doing jockey form a lot such as horse form too.
So you do form on the riders, knowing certain riders like to do certain things?
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of aggressive riders, and there's a lot of non-aggressive riders as well. I think.
Explain a bit more about that. Give us some examples about who you'd try and avoid, or who you'd want to follow, or who you wouldn't want to follow.
Yeah, well, I think there's a lot of leader jockeys, not just leaders, but obviously a lot of their rides, like Rachel King, Tim Clark, if they're on Gay's horses, they usually go forward, and even when they're not on those horses, they're usually just expected to be setting the tempo of the race. They're very good judges of speed. And then there's your other opposite end of the scale, Jason Collett. He's a very passive rider. I think James is aggressive but passive as well. McDonald, he never loves leading, so you're probably expected that he's going to take a sit if he does go forward. And yeah, there's a lot of riders that have got different traits.
Well, that certainly is. And one of your traits is your laid-back attitude. I mentioned earlier that you got a lot of the Bowman about you. I don't know where you get the haircut from, because it's got to be the worst haircut in the jockey room, isn't it? The mullet.
I'd say it is, but ever since I've had it, I think I've just been going up. Mate.
Is it a lucky thing for you?
I think so.
Yeah. You keep it like that because it's lucky.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah?
I don't mind. It's not a bad look. I don't think it's horrible. I don't think it's the best look, but yeah, I think when Jason Collett had his mullet, he was winning Group 1s as well. So
that's also true. Yeah.
Yeah, a bit of luck involved.
So talking about Group 1s, so you got your first Group 1 this year on Maria Mia in the Galaxy for Joe, who's been your biggest supporter, hasn't he, Joe Pride?
Yeah, for sure. When I first went into the provincials, he gave me a lot of rides, as did Gerald Ryan and Sterling. And yeah, I think I was Joe's most winning rider last season, so he's definitely given me a lot of support, and I was very grateful to get the ride that day from the owners and Joe.
Any desire to get onto the best horse in his yard at the moment, Everest winner?
I wish I could again. I trialled him his first 2 trials, and then Rory got on him at the provincials, and then Sam Clipperton got on him the next prep, and he obviously hasn't done anything wrong, so he probably can't pull him off yet. But
you'd try if you could, wouldn't you?
I'd love to. If he
Yeah.
gets a lightweight anywhere, I'll put my hand up.
Yeah, for sure. So tell us, so now you've qualified to a fully fledged jockey at the beginning of this racing season. What's a couple of guys have said they found it really hard in the transition from an apprentice to a jockey. Did you find any difficulty there?
Not really. I think because I came out of my claim last December on Boxing Day, I don't think I went through keeping my momentum, and I didn't go for a break. I didn't do anything drastic. I just kept trying to keep momentum going, and still under the guidance of Mark at that time, I think it really pushed me in the right direction. It kept me going on an upward scale, and I think if I went on a break or if something happened drastically, if Mark left at that time, it might have been a different result, because I think I just went on the upward scale, and then before anything could go wrong, I just kept getting momentum and got in the right yards, of course.
Getting lots of support, yeah?
Yeah, it's hard to do it without support, obviously, but I've still got a lot of improvement to do in my riding, I think, especially in the home straight, riding them out. But no, I'm very happy with where I am.
So when on Saturday you rode 3 winners, which was a great day. When you have a bad day, who's your sounding board? Do you analyse them yourself? Do you have someone that goes through them with you? What's your process?
More my manager. I can get in the car and blow up as much as I want to myself, but I usually ring him, reassess what happened. He usually has some options that I usually say is wrong, but he has got some good points as well. My manager, Hayden Kelly, he's very good. He's like a second father to me. I can talk to him about anything, and he's obviously doing a good job, because I've had him since 20 winners in my career, and he's kept me going.
He's kept you going, yeah. So we talk about you, like you said, mentioned he's like your second father. We'll have a speech about your dad. When you won your Group 1, obviously it's an emotional day for any jockey riding their first Group 1, but you were extremely emotional that day. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think I was really good until I saw Corey and had to talk about my dad, obviously, having struggles with cancer. Luckily, at the moment, it's all in remission and it's all looking good. But on the time, I was hoping to win a Group 1 at some point before the end of the year. He got told he didn't have long left, and luckily at the moment he's got given a lot more time. But the feeling at the time was very overwhelming. It was great to have Corey there, and I just let it all flow.
Has he been a big help to you, Corey? Because he looks after the apprentices in New South Wales. He obviously rode heaps of Group 1 winners. Is he someone that you lean to ask for advice, or does he come and give it to you?
Yeah, I try not to pester anyone asking for advice, but Corey definitely steps in and gives me advice, which I'm very grateful for. He's trying to tidy me up in my finishes at the moment, and I think he's a really good asset to Racing New South Wales, the apprentice sort of academy that they have going at the moment. Yeah. He's obviously a multiple Group 1 winner. He's a great jockey, and he's a very good guider. I think he's pushing everyone in the right direction, whether it be for their boss or even getting apprentices to the races at the moment. He's putting a few more steps in place instead of having people go to the races not ready. That's for sure.
Okay, so now that you're a jockey, you don't have Corey there, just at the end of the microphone, just to go and have a chat to. And you drive. You say you're self-driven. So what are your goals? What do you want to do now that you're a fully fledged jockey? You've won a premiership. You won a Group 1 race. You're back to back in the Kosciuszko, which was fantastic this year on the biggest day of racing, especially in New South Wales. That had to give you some thrills. What's your next goal?
Yeah, I don't think I want to stop yet. I said at the start of this season I wanted to ride 100 Metro winners. I'm sort of on track. I'm only 2 behind at the quarter mark for this quarter, and I'd love to ride more Group 1 winners, obviously. I'd love to go to the Melbourne Cup maybe in the next couple of years. There's a lot of goals that I've probably not thought about setting at the moment, but I think they're there long term. But anything short term, probably maybe this season I'd love to give J-Mac a run for his money.
Well, you were pretty close last year, even though you were still an apprentice. I think apprentices ran second, third, and fourth, which is a rare feat. And of course, those apprentices, those other two, were Dylan Gibbons and Zach Lloyd, who are your best mates. How hard is it competing against them when they're your mates?
Yeah, it's pretty fun actually. We have a lot of banter in the room, and then when we step out on the track, obviously we're trying to be as safe as possible, but we always have a little bit of banter everywhere.
Do you give each other a bit of shit when things don't go right?
For sure.
Yeah?
I think.
What's the best chirp you've given one of them, or they've given you?
It's more when myself and Zach, when we ride for Hawks and get a coat pull off then, and
Oh, you compare sprays, do you?
it's pretty funny going back in the room and pretty much comparing sprays. And
What's your best spray you've been given, or the biggest spray you've been given?
probably John O'Shea. I wouldn't say
Really? That's a surprise?
I've probably copped a couple off Hawkses, but they're more constructive criticism. John, he's pretty much straight to the point. He tells you exactly what you did wrong. And I rode a horse called We Will Rock in, I can't remember what race it was, at Rose Hill. I think it was a Group 2. And I came back and he said, mate, 3 wide with cover around this track, that's no good. Get in the room. And
how long till you saw him again on the racetrack? He didn't give you a ride for a while?
I think it might have been the next week, to be honest.
Oh,
he's
that was good.
pretty loyal.
Yeah.
If you ride work for him and turn up, he definitely gives you rides, but he's a hard taskmaster.
Yeah, well, there's nothing short of those in our industry, and it's not for sissies, that's for sure. Now, I'm sure, your grounding, your upbringing, that's what's given you some steel about you, because there's not much that flusters you or gets you in a spin, and I think that's obviously telling in your rides. Anyhow, mate, so it's been great having you on the show and having a chat to you and getting to know you a little bit more. Wish you all the best for the future, and you're leading the premiership at the moment. Of course, a few of the, as you mentioned, a few of the big boys are down in Melbourne for the carnival, but you're on track for your 100 and keep it up.
Fingers crossed. Thanks, Scowie.
Thanks, mate.